All right, this is a very important segment. I've been asked by so many people to present a more detailed version of what I presented in another YouTube version. Here we go. We're just about to get into the book of Romans. So this is be If My People Bible Reading Part 190. And the reason we're bringing this up is because the word slavery comes into very important aspects dealing with what Paul describes given to him by Yeshua. So this is directly coming from Yeshua. This is prophecy. And it talks about slavery in the aspect of being a slave to others. Certainly going to talk about that in a minute. And being a slave to sin. And being a slave to Yeshua. And we are slaves to Yeshua. Everyone on earth has been and is a slave to sin. And many peoples have been slaves to each other and other nations. By factorial multiplications and dynamics of DNA. I don't get into aspects of it right now, but there's basically only three people on earth that have three different types in the beginning, three different types of body structures. And that includes color. And then you can mix the colors. But the bone structure is only three. There's the mongoloid, the caucasus, and the negroid, which is a bottom of the mouth here. Bottom of the mouth is U-shaped with a sharp edges, and then U-shaped, which is nice and round edges, and then V-shaped. Bottom of the mouth. You can tell race by that, and you use that bone structure and color structure to come up with the fact of, in less than 5 or 6 generations, you come up with 243 different types of races in the world. Folks, it's not a black and white and red and yellow in this world. It is at least 243 that we can identify now scientifically. There's around 6,561 different races. It's the way it is. It's so easy to understand. It is not a black and white issue. People, evil, demons, Hasatan, and minions make it something to fuss and lie and cheat about. Everything I'm showing you, and we're going to go to the video. Everything I'm showing you is right out of, and I went to black colleges to pull this information. I didn't go to white or purple or pink. I went to black colleges and pulled this information that they have, their libraries have, their research has, their instructors, their professors, and teachers all have what I'm about to tell you. Pay attention. And the detail they have is fantastic. And the detail behind the pictures is fantastic. And then some of the nonsense they have, like here's a picture of a white guy beating on a black man. And it says something to the effect when you read this that this is common, which it wasn't. It wasn't. It never was. The majority of all the Negroes, blacks in the United States, were servants in a household. So there was one to a family, one slave, one servant to a family. Not what you hear about the plantation issue. That did happen, absolutely. But I'll tell you where all that happened here in a minute as we continue on. Ship passage records are very accurate. You don't keep good records, you don't get paid. It's as simple as that. So the information is extremely detailed. Follow the money. Follow the money. Now, what's it all about? You follow the money. Textiles, sugar, tobacco, rum, manufacturing, gold, slave mining. There's a lot of people that died in that. Go dig a hole in the ground, and that ground falls in, and they all are smothered to death, and nobody seems to care. Just get some more slaves to do it. Now, we'll take a look at this picture as I'm about to read. I'm about to read the following. Okay. Portuguese. Now, where it's about 1441, Portugal. Up here, folks. A lot of people don't even know where it's at. Portugal, Spain. In the early 15th century, the Portuguese raided the West African coast for slaves to labor on the large estates of the Algarve region of the mainland on the Atlantic islands colonized by Portugal, such as Cape Verde and Madeira. And by 1445, around 10% of the population of Lisbon is up here, was black. Here they come. Now, they were all taken from here. When the white settlers and the white tradesmen came down and wanted to get slaves, did they go out and get them? No, they did not. They just asked other more powerful black slaves to go after, black kingdoms to go after the black people that they had made slavery in the past from this area of Africa. So they went out, brought them in. And what did they call them? They called them Nigars. That's the N word. Niger, which means in African language, dumb ape. So who came up with that language? They come up with that language. Just like today, the majority of people who use that word today are black, not white, and not purple or pink people. Where did the majority of everyone, 97, 98% of all black people go? This area, Cuba, all the Caribbeans, South America. Well, why don't we see them by the hundreds and hundreds of millions today? Because they were literally worked to death and they were literally bred out. So they're mixed races. The great majority of the people that kept their race color, where are they? The United States. The ones that are currently living today. How interesting. We'll continue reading. Listen to this. Voyages direct from Africa to the New World started as early as 1500. Initially, the slaves were sent to the Caribbean. Only later did they go to Brazil, and they mentioned the United States last. By 1640, two branches of transatlantic slave trades, they were called TAST, if you want to do your research, had developed following the prevailing winds and currents of where where the ships took them. The northern one to the Caribbean and the mainland Spanish America. The southern ones to Brazil, right here. If you go down there, you don't see them. You can't find black people who are 100% black. Why? They were worked to death. They died of disease. They were bred out. By 1672, six empires, the British, the Danish, the Dutch, the French, the Spanish, the Portuguese, operated these mills of work trade for plantation and the mines. And that's the way it continued until we get to 1700. So in the 18th century, which is 1700 through 1900, goods and weapons traded for slaves drove the rapid expansion of the West African kingdoms of Oyo and Asante. The 19th century saw the rise of Dahomey in Benin and the Chokti, in which is now Angola and the Democratic Republic of Congo. So these people continue to go after themselves. Black people made slaves of other black people and sold them for a business. Are things beginning to make sense? The scale of all this. From 1790 to 1830, more than 74,000 people a year were forcibly removed from Africa in slave ships. And I think that in total, 76,000 slave ships went back and forth during that period. A further million people were transported, around 10% of the entire number of slaves traded. The vast majority of slaves were carried off to South America, primarily Brazil, primarily all the Caribbean islands. To do what? To continue with these coffee plantations, the cotton, and the sugar. The use of slaves in the United States, the grand majority, the greatest majority, were a man and a woman who had wealth, because a slave was worth $300, which today would be worth about $40,000 to $50,000. Most people can't afford to just go buy a $50,000 car, just like they can't have a $50,000 slave these days. So the United States had no purpose for blacks, and it was coming down to the fact that they should have abolished that when the English did. The English did somewhere around 1807. The United States made a mistake. So for one mistake that they made, the primary mistake, we have what we have today. The hate and the lies and anything to keep people fighting against the other. There are wonderful, fantastic, pure black Christians, sheep, and there are wonderful, fantastic, pure white sheep, Christians, fighting each other for what? For a lie made by Hasatan and his minions and the evil people of this world. Keep looking at this map. If you go there, if you travel, if you could afford to do all this, if you go back to Africa, and they did not keep very good records there, that entire nation didn't keep very good records except in Egypt. They will, by word, by oral tradition, tell you what I just told you. But you won't hear it in the colleges today because colleges are primarily left-wing communist entities. Pure and simple as that. They're communist because they believe in their one world government, and they're communist because they're atheistic. They not accept Yeshua HaMashiach, and so they are communist, pure and simple. So who's driving this? The very people who are claiming that we, on the other side, are the ones who are at fault, when in fact they and their behavior are the very ones who are responsible for everything. So I hope this helps to explain what you simply don't see anywhere online. These books, this information, you'll get the tiniest little bit of it from Googling. You'll get the tiniest little bit with no explanation from little articles that you find online. And you will not find it in popular other organizations because this is all about making money. How much does my organization make? Zero. We're not out to make a buck. I don't have a church in my name because I'm not out to run a business. And we have our appointed times, our Royal Torah, our New Testament Torah, which we're giving you. Try to find us this kind of information anywhere else. I beg of you to test everything I say. Go out there and look up what I have found and ask people quite simply the truth and see if they repeat it, say that is true. See if that. I'm saying I've had a horrible time getting other people to, I said, why don't you put this on the air? Why don't you, I've been saying this for almost 20, 25 years. So now I'm doing it. Am I doing a fantastic job? I don't know. Probably not. I'm doing what I can. I want to go to the Father one of these days and say, I've done the best I could. I've done everything I could, whenever I could, and even at the direst times. The only thing that's really helped me in the last 9 months putting this together is COVID. Because we're all trapped in our basements. And I'm thinking, all right, I'll do this. I'll be glad to. All right, the next is reading 191, the book of Romans. And there's a lot about word slavery in there. All right, we'll see you then. Blessings to everybody.